Alright guys, so in this video I'm going to be showing you how to solve quadratic equations again, but this time we're going to be using graphing, the graphs, and how we can find the roots, the zeros, and the x-intercepts, stuff like that, okay? So remember, these are the solutions, okay? So you want to plug it into y equals graph, then trace, and then try to see where it crosses the x-axis, and that's going to be the x-intercept, the zero, the solution, okay, or the root. And then so if we trace it and it shows that y equals 0, then that is good because that's what we want, right? We want y to equal 0. Okay, so let's look at the worksheet. Okay, so the first thing it gives us is x squared minus 13x plus 40. So we go down to our calculator and we do, give me 1 second. Okay, go to y equals, and we have x squared minus 13x plus 40. Okay, and once we do that, we're going to go to our graph. Okay, so we see that their roots, zero, solutions are over here. Okay, so the way we can check them out is press trace. We can kind of guess. So this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's put in x equals 5. And we wanted to make sure that we get y equals 0. So that's good. That means x equals 5 is one of our solutions, and we can guess the other one, 6, 7, 8. So let's check x equals 8, enter, and we also get y equals 0. So that's also good. So our two roots are 5 and 8. Okay, so remember, the answer choices could also look something like this: x equals 5 comma 8, or it could show it in a bracket that looks something like that, comma 8. Okay, so any one of those, it's gonna look, it's a comma, not a decimal. Okay, so remember, we're looking for roots. Well, right, it says it right there, roots, solutions, zeros, and x-intercepts. Okay, bear with me guys, this is trying out a new thing, so I'm trying to practice writing on it. Okay, so now we can do the same thing with this equation. So again, we go to our calculator, go to y equals, clear it, okay, and so we have negative 2x squared, minus x plus 3, okay, and graph, okay, and so we get this. Okay, so again, after graph we press trace, okay, and so we see it's like not negative 1 and not negative 2, so let me try negative 1.5, okay, and enter. So good, we get y equals 0, so that's one of them. And let me try positive 1, enter. So I also get y equals 0, so good. So that means our root, solution, zeros, x-intercept is going to be negative 1.5 and 1, positive 1. Okay. So, and remember, it'll also look something like this, negative 1.5 and 1. Okay. Right, so again, let's do number 3. So we have, go to our calculator, clear that, and we have 2x squared plus 3x plus 4. Okay, now we can graph. And, well, it doesn't cross the x-axis, okay? So what that means is you can come over here, and all you have to do is write no roots, okay? So if it doesn't cross or touch the x-axis, there's no roots, okay? So it has to come and cross this line right here, but it's not. This is the x-axis, okay? So that means it's not, y is never going to equal 0 because it just comes This is the vertex, the lowest part of the parabola, and it goes up. Okay, so let's do our next equation. Negative x squared plus 4x plus 4. So go to y equals, clear, and we have negative x squared plus 4x minus 4. Okay, and we can graph. Okay, now I need to check this right here because I mean it looks like it touches, but I'm not quite sure. So let me try 1, 2, x equals 2. Okay, x equals 2 equals 0. Let me try 2.1. Okay, so what that means is x equals 2 is our only root, our only solution, and our only x-intercept, okay? Because that's the highest point of the parabola, okay? So, and that is called the vertex, right? So we know that as the vertex. So there, oh, let me try that again. So there is only one root because the vertex is at 0. Nope, not 0, 2, but 2, 0, because we want y to equal 0, remember? So 2, 0. Okay, so let's go on to our next problem. Okay, so here they give us a table, right? And they says complete the tables to determine the zeros of each quadratic function. So I can just go to my calculator, go to y equals and clear. And all I really have to do is just plug in my equation and just copy the table. So I have x squared minus 2x minus 3. Okay, and then I can just go to second graph, and it gives me the table, right? Well, they want me to go to from negative 2, so I can just move up 2, right? And I'm just going to copy 5, 0, negative 3, 5, 0, negative 3, negative 4, negative 3, 0, negative 4, negative 3, 0, and I believe the last one was 5. Okay, and remember, we want y to equal 0. So here we have y, and it equals 0 at negative 1 and 3. So therefore, our zeros are x equals negative 1 and positive 3. Okay, so we want, remember, we want y to equal 0. Okay, so let's look at our next problem. It says use a calculator to sketch the graph of each function, then tell where the x-intercepts occur. So again, we can just graph this on our calculator, right? So we can go to y equals, clear that, and graph x squared minus 4x minus 5, right? Go to graph. Okay, now we need to figure out what our roots are, our x-intercepts, our solutions. So I can trace, and I think that one's negative 1, so let me type in negative 1. Okay, and so I get y equals 0, so that's good. And then the other one would be positive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5. And we also get y equals 0, so that's also good. So our x-intercepts are negative 1 and 5. So I can come over here and draw dot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and I know it's gonna go something like that. It doesn't have to be perfect, and the lowest it goes is about negative 9. add 2. Not negative 2, positive 2. So that's the vertex 2, negative 9. So 2, negative 9. So this is gonna go up, and this is gonna go up. Okay, so that's not the prettiest parabola, but it gets the job done. Okay, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Just make sure that the zeros are correct, right? 1, negative 1, and 5. Okay. All right, so I believe we got one more problem. Okay, so here we want to write down the zeros of the quadratic function graph here, and we're going to work backwards and use the zeros to write the two factors of the function, and then we want to multiply to see our expanded equation or our quadratic equation. So here, notice this is hard to see, so this is our y-axis, and this is our x-axis. Well, that was bad. Let me try it one more time. That's a little better. Okay, so here we have 1, 2, positive 2. Okay, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. Negative 3. Okay, so those are your two zeros, right? Okay, and since they're zeros, we know that x equals that, so we can put x equals 2 and x equals negative 3, right? And when we want to go from our solutions to factors, remember you want to solve for 0 or just move everything to one side, and the way I can do that here is I can subtract 2 from both sides, right? And I get x minus 2 equals 0. On this one, since it's negative 3, so the opposite of negative 3 is positive 3, so I can add 3 to both sides, and I end up with x plus 3 equals 0. Okay, and so the way I can write it out is in factored form, right? And it would be, okay, second, x minus 2 times x plus 3 equals 0, right? So this is our factor form, right? But we want our expanded equation, and the way we can do that, remember, is our box method, right? Where we multiply these out. Okay. Oh wow. Let me redo that. Okay. It's a little better, not a lot, but okay. And so our outside would be x and minus 2, right? And x and plus 3. Okay, and so our inside would be x times x is x squared. X times negative 2 would give me negative 2x. 3 times x would be 3x, and 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Okay, and once I do that, I can combine my like terms, right? My x's, 3x and negative 2x. Okay, so I would end up with the equation x squared. So 3x minus 2x would give me 1x, so x minus 6, right? Okay, and so the equation we end up with is that x squared plus x minus 6 equals 0. Okay, so that's our equation. All you had to do was find the zeros, which you can easily get from the graph, right? Set those zeros equal to x, and then solve for 0, right? You want to move everything to one side so we can get our factors, okay? And the way we get our expanded equation is you multiply those two factors using either your box, or some of you know the FOIL method, or double distribution, whichever you prefer, right? And that'll get you your expanded equation, okay? Okay, and so again, these are the steps you want to be doing, right? Plug into y equals graph, then trace, and then check, where it crosses the x-axis, okay? There should be 2 most of the time, but sometimes you'll have no zeros, and there are occasions where you'll have just 1, okay? And if it shows that y equals 0, then boom, that's what you want. You want your solutions, zeros, x-intercepts, and your roots, okay? All right, guys, thanks for watching.